I trust Carter to have a good game. I think Veesaar is maybe the key to this game, like the number one key to this game, as you've kind of highlighted. All right, Kevin. So we got a little bit more West Virginia to talk through. We're going to talk through the specifics of our opponent a little bit more so now. West Virginia, you have written here, the third straight top 20 defensive team that Arizona will play to open Big 12 play after TCU and, of course, Cincinnati that we just played. Really, really strong defensive group here in the Big 12. I mean, I know that that's not exactly like shocking. This is what we came to expect going into this conference, but it is wild to see just like how many of these Big 12 teams are just at the top of the defensive rating like standings, basically.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about it literally all year. We're going to sound like broken records, FYI, but it's going to be a defensive slog against almost all of these Big 12 teams because that is Big 12 basketball. That's just what it is. And so Arizona, the more tests that we see them pass, the more confidence that we as fans should have that they can hang and that they can do their thing in this conference and not worry about facing 3 of the top 20 defensive teams in your first 3 conference games. Which is a ridiculous statistic. And West Virginia is not just some, glass giant. They're 11-2, 2-0 in conference. It's best ever start since, or not best ever start, but best start since 2017. Darian Devries, let's talk about him. I mean, he first year coach at West Virginia. He's got the by God Mountaineers playing out of their mind, and he has the fan base believing against, and that's half the battle. When you go on the road, Damon, on the road into Fog Allen Fieldhouse.
Yeah.
And you get the dub. That's huge. That's a massive victory.
Without one of your 2 best players as well.
Yes, it's a massive victory. And I think it speaks to the culture of the team. And by that I mean just the type of game that Darian Devries wants to instill into his ball club. I think that kind of speaks to it. He kind of has like a next man up, no excuses kind of mentality to him, from what I've gathered. And that's kind of that's how you win road games in Kansas by 1 point, is not having any excuses and having a next man up mentality. There are other notable wins featured Georgetown. Obviously, Battle for Atlantis happened. The overtime game happened. We don't got to,
Georgetown stinks these days.
No, that's true. Yeah. That is true. Georgetown does stink these days. Arizona does not stink these days. Gonzaga, they also have a victory over Gonzaga at a neutral site as
Another
well.
big win. Yeah,
that's another big win. But that's just some of their notable wins this season.
I'm just looking at those 3 wins there, Kevin, and their record. How on earth are they not ranked?
That's a great question, Damon. And I think it's one of those situations where if you're on West Virginia, you're just looking around like,
what do we got to do?
I guess we just got to keep beating everybody.
We beat Kansas on the road. We beat Arizona on a neutral site, and we beat Gonzaga
at a neutral site.
Site. Like,
and I mean, I know Georgetown isn't a big deal, but they're still ranked highly, like by statistical by metrics and things like that. So.
But that probably, like, I'd have to do more research into it. But that sounds like to me like I would be hard pressed to find a trio of better wins in the entire country than what West Virginia has.
Yeah, I mean,
and
Billington,
it's not as if they're
71 in the chat says they're number 21,
okay.
So it's possible we just missed.
So they got added this morning.
They got added this morning. Thanks. Shout out chat. Shout out Billington. Shout out 5 of a Kind for
that.
Yeah,
definitely deserved. And 100% a team that Arizona is going to be, facing a caliber of all season long. I mean, just looking here real quick at the Ken Palm defensive ratings, Kevin, to usher your point in earlier, there's 7 teams, including Arizona, in the top 27 of defensive rating teams in the entire country out of 364 total. So yeah, 7 of that top 27 is like half the Big 12 conference. Pretty ridiculous when you think about it. Like, just such a hard-nosed, defensive, gritty conference. And then ASU, of course, they're only 34. They're 7 spots behind that on the outside looking in there. So even more schools, kind of waiting their turn. It's funny how this is played out where we just keep getting like a step above, I feel like, in the Big 12. Like, we start with TCU, and it's like TCU is like built like every single Big 12 team, except they're just not as talented as them. Then we go up to Cincinnati, and they're kind of like an average Big 12 team that plays like, a quintessential Big 12 team. And now we're playing West Virginia, which seems like they have the potential to be a really, really strong team throughout this entire season. My eyebrows are definitely raised at the Mountaineers and what they've done in what Darian Devries has been able to accomplish so far in his first season. So it's gonna be interesting to see if like Arizona can continue to their ascension and their step up in competition as their teams that they play get better and better.
Yeah, I'm excited, and you speak to Arizona kind of taking steps up and steps up. This might be like a half step up because you're rematching a team you already played, right?
True.
You played 5 quarters with them, so you really know this team intimately this season at least. They might not have their best player. Let's speak a little bit about that real quick. Tucker DeVries. Let's look at his stats here from this season so far, averaging 14.9 points a game. 4.9 rebounds, 2.8 assists, and 41.2% from the field is the 6'7" transfer. He might not play in this upcoming matchup tomorrow, Damon. Darian DeVries kind of keeps the injury news really close to the chest. He likely, Tucker, his son, likely tweaked his surgically repaired shoulder either before or early in the Georgetown game. There are even rumblings from some beat reporters of a medical red shirt for Tucker DeVries this season, which really made my eyebrows raise because he has looked amazing for this West Virginia squad. And if you don't have him, that's a big loss for West Virginia. Damon, if Tucker DeVries does not play, how obviously it's a huge deal, but how impactful is it immediately to you with your analysis of this game?
In terms of Arizona basketball and the way that we play, I think it's massive because, I mean, just looking back at his previous game against Arizona, like he was the reason that West Virginia won that basketball game. West Virginia beats U of A, of course, by 7 points in overtime. Tucker DeVries in 36 minutes scores 26 points and shoots 8 of 12 beyond the 3-point line. 8 of 12. Just could not miss. Definitely certainly felt like that. Like I didn't remember that 8 of 12 number specifically, but eye test wise, like it felt like he was hitting 70% of his threes almost on that high of volume. And, if he doesn't play, like we've talked about like Arizona, it seems like the way that they play defense, a lot of times one guy ends up with the ball in his hand on the opposing team a lot and just is just hitting everything. Right. And there's just one guy that we look at on the other side and we go, we can't stop him. And Tucker DeVries was that guy for West Virginia. And if we can just completely take him out of the conversation, like I think it drastically improves Arizona's chances of winning this game because I'm not comfortable playing a sharpshooter like that. To me, that's the exact type of player that's going to like crush us late in the tournament, crush us, in the Big 12 tournament. Like this is exactly the player that I think is like our Achilles heel. So I would say it's absolutely massive. What say you?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think the fact that Tucker DeVries is likely not going to play really gives Arizona a leg up in this matchup on the road because I mean should I speak to it now? I mean the bigs are not plentiful for West Virginia. They do not have a lot of front court depth.
Yeah,
and it's honestly one of my keys to the game is attacking the rim. If Arizona, who has a plethora of players that can get downhill and attack the rim at will, that's going to go a long way for Arizona to win this game. Eduardo Andre is the only big on their roster who is above 6'8", Damon. The only one. He's the only one. I think he stands at 6'11", but he's been a victim of foul troubles at times this year, which has really hurt West Virginia because they don't have that front court depth as I was just speaking to. So I think if you can get Caleb Love, Jaden Bradley, KJ Lewis downhill, maybe you get that big into foul trouble. That is going to let Henri Veesaar eat.
Yeah.
He's going to eat because, Damon, this is my second key to the game. Henri Veesaar and Carter Bryant, can you guess how many minutes they played against West Virginia in the Battle for Atlantis, the game that went to overtime? Combined.
I'm going to guess they played 11 minutes combined.
They played 14 minutes combined. Henri Veesaar played just 3 minutes in that contest. I don't think that's going to be the case this time.
Honestly, if you want to know my real thought process going through that, I actually tried to just guess what Carter Bryant's minutes were, which is funny. I got that on the button because I didn't think that Veesaar played in that game. So I was trying to be like, what? Carter Bryant played 11 minutes in that game, which he did. That was I'm going to, pat myself on the back there for that one.
As you should. Yes, I like that idea. But no, Carter Bryant, since that game against West Virginia, has not played. Well, he did against UCLA, but that was That was a tough game. Outside of the UCLA loss, Carter Bryant has played more minutes in every game since, and I think that we're going to see him play 20-plus minutes like he did against Duke, like he did against TCU. I think we're going to see 20-plus minutes out of Carter Bryant. I think we're going to see the same out of Henri Veesaar, Henri Veesaar in his last 5 contests has played 26 minutes, 18 minutes, 17 minutes, 14 minutes, and 27 minutes. I think just the impact of having those 2 players in particular play an outsized role in this game is going to completely change the optics of this game. I don't think this game's going to look the same as it did when Arizona played West Virginia in the battle for Atlantis because of Carter Bryant and because of Henri Veesaar. And the third reason, because if Tucker DeVries does not play, that's massive as well.
Honestly, I think that's a great point. This is a kind of a new look Arizona based off of, what we think our best lineup is now versus what we thought it was in that Battle for Atlantis tournament. And hopefully this team is growing a little bit and these players are finding their role and getting a little bit more comfortable. I'll honestly, I'll take Carter out of the equation. I trust Carter to have a good game. I think Veesaar is maybe the key to this game, like the number one key to this game, as you've kind of highlighted. Like, he going up against a guy, a 6'8" big on the other end, who, that's the one guy they got. That's an advantage that we had. That's a mismatch that we have. Veesaar is an athletic guy. He goes up strong. He's been playing extremely physical. Like, I think that's a matchup that we're gonna have to exploit, and that Tommy Lloyd and the Wildcats are definitely gonna have to exploit if Arizona's going to win this basketball game.